You have a very comfortable cooler, by the way.
They are great, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're terrific.
This is very informal, and forget about the camera.
Great.
It's just us.
Okay.
And we are back between two Yetis, and I am with John, 1980.
80, you got it.
Is that when you were born?
That is me, yeah. How you doing?
Very good.
Good.
So I just saw your badge.
Yes.
And you're part of, well, you are ABYC.
ABYC, the American Boat and Yacht Council, yes.
So I've heard a lot about you over the years.
Okay.
Not you personally, but
Right.
ABYC.
Good to know, right.
What do you guys do?
Well, in our essence, we write engineering standards. So what kind of boat do you own? Do you own a boat?
No.
What was the last boat you were on? Think hard. I'm going to say you were on a Boston Whaler.
Okay, fair
All
enough.
right. When you touched that throttle and you had to pull the throttle to go forward, that's a standard that we write so that inadvertently you can't just immediately go forward without having to actually do an action.
You're
If
the
boat
standards
sinks-
agency.
Yeah, I'm the standards agency. If the boat sinks, it floats because of us.
So in England, we have a thing called BSI.
Same thing.
You're the same thing.
Very similar, yeah.
Good Lord.
We don't have the accents, but we're the same thing, right?
All right, so we have a thing almost like, what's the other one? UL here.
Yeah, you have the BMF, British Marine Federation. You have BSI, which is kind of like UL, right?
Yeah, BSI is UL.
Right.
But we always say that it's a license to print money.
No,
you
that's
just
not
come up
us.
with
That's
new
not
things.
us. We're a non-profit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we don't really have a license. But we try to keep our costs as low as possible so that everybody can use our standards. Ultimately, we're into safe boating. So that's really what we're about. And the more our standards get used, the safer the product is. So that's what we're about. So being a nonprofit in the United States doesn't mean we don't make money. We do. We have to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
I have to get paid. Shannon over there has to get paid. But ultimately, we want to make sure that the cost of entry to using our standards is as inexpensive as possible.
Good Lord. I've spoken to a lot of captains, a lot of people in other organizations like
Right.
ISS and USSA, and a lot of the conversations we have are about over-regulation in the industry.
Sure.
And some people's opinion is it's good. Some people's opinion is it's taking away the fun. But
So essentially, we exist so we don't get any more regulation. If the industry finds a problem, they come to us to solve it before the government says you must do this. So a little different than the mentality in Great Britain.
yeah.
Right. So we don't have a lot of regulation. So I like to say that our standards are a floor. This is the minimum safe product that you will build. If you decide to go higher and higher up, that's on you. You can make a better product, you can do that. But if you build ABYC, you are going to have a product that will perform and will be absolutely safe.
Good Lord. How do you get involved with this?
It's I've had a long history with boating, from being a little guy in a dinghy to sailing Long Island Sound to begging to sweep a floor at a yacht broker when I was in college. So really, I got this job 16 years ago, working in standards, and here I am, the president at this point, and I don't see myself leaving. I love it.
Good Lord.
I love it. It's fascinating.
Yeah. So this is, you're a one-jobber.
Well, I've had several jobs, but I've been in this job for the last 16
Okay.
years. Yeah. So at ABYC, and I hope not to leave.
Oh, very good.
So that's my goal. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I never met you or really met anybody from the organization, but knowing ABYC is very important standards.
Right.
Because I used to have we're about to touch on a subject I never talk about.
Okay.
We're not allowed to talk about lighting or politics.
Okay.
Politics is obvious.
Right.
And lighting, because that's my background.
Okay.
But one of my previous companies was an underwater lighting company.
Sure.
So we're always that issue of putting a hole beneath the boat.
Anytime you put a hole in a boat, it's a problem, right? Right.
So I don't think there was any standards for that.
Actually, you're correct. We do have standards for through hulls and how to mount them.
Yeah.
You're not doing a through hull, so you kind of fit in a gray area, which has always been interesting. Now, I do have electrical standards on how you hook it up.
Yep.
You need to make sure the case isn't live, for instance, so if somebody touches it, it doesn't shock you, or it doesn't end up eroding away from a galvanic issue. Right, the basics. But
Bonding was a thing I learned.
Bonding
quickly.
is a great thing to learn, but really, essentially, I don't want to write detailed standards on that particular product because in the U.S. we let the market semi-dictate whether you're actually going to be able to sell or not. So you put 300 of these things on boats and they start to erode away and boats sink.
Your business will go out a bit?
Right. My number one rule of boating is keep the water outside the boat. Right. So if your product doesn't do that, you're probably not going to keep selling it.
Let the market decide.
To a certain extent, absolutely.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
So there's a company downstairs,
Right.
Bungee, the best bungees in the world.
Okay.
There's no standards on bungee cords.
Absolutely not. Right. we probably won't bother unless people start having injuries with bungee cords.
Well,
we're
they
not
do.
going to write a standard.
Because the hooks get corroded, and then
Right.
when they fray,
Right.
people get snapped.
I can't say that people haven't come to us and asked us to write standards on bizarre things. The United States is a very robust standards group. There are standards on martinis, for instance, in the United States. I'm not kidding. There's standards on there's standards on the bolts that hold down a diving board in a swimming pool. I mean, you name it. There's standards
That's
on
fair
everything here in the
enough,
United States. Yeah.
But martini?
There is a standard on martinis. I lie. I do not lie to you.
We'll have to look that one up.
It's a very interesting business if you really look down at it. Yeah, it's there. I believe it's an ANSI standard, and it's on the proper martini.
Good lord.
So.
Oh, great. You don't... most approvals people are what we call in England fuddy-duddies, nerds.
Yeah,
They don't get
that'll
out
work
of the
here.
office very
Right,
often.
Right.
But you're wearing your pink pants.
I can't stay. Well, I learned these from you guys. I mean, these are my Isle of Cows pants. But seriously, I got to get out of the office. I can't sit there and write stuff. It's just we got to get out of the office. We have to see what our customers are doing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about it.
I love what you said about though. We're not trying to overregulate.
No.
Let the market decide.
Absolutely.
Because that's the complete opposite of what happens in England.
Right.
with the
And
EU.
again, to a certain extent.
Faux pas number one. I didn't turn my damn phone off.
Well, at least it's on you and not me, right? So. But I think the other area of our business, which is extremely important, is education. We need to educate the repair tech to do the repair properly, and what we just started doing is trying to educate young people to get into this business. You're interviewing me and you asked me how I got into it and how much I love this. There is a viable career for any young person that wants to get into the
Which
recreational
pays
industry.
what, 29% more than a job in another industry?
It depends. I mean, I interviewed a company that owns 4 marinas in Northern Maryland the other day, right? He's got jobs sitting there for entry-level technicians that basically don't know what the pointy end and the flat end is. $45,000 a year, health insurance, and 2 weeks vacation.
Can't find it.
Working outside with your hands, doing a great job, and he can't fill them. He says at this point he's not even reading his Indeed.com applications. He's just bringing people in. If they show up and they're going to be there, he'll train them.
I just saw on the news that we're at a 49-year low for unemployment.
Right. We can't fill the jobs.
Good God. So you guys actually get involved with training as well?
We
then?
do. So we train.
Sorry, this is going much longer.
That's fine.
This is what I'm
That's
interested in.
fine. Well, it's fine for you, I guess. But so basically, what we do is the initial training was certifications for people that are out there during the work. So you show up to ABYC, you take a 4-day course, you take a test, and you get a certification that lasts for 5 years. And that was our initial model. But what we've done recently is through our VP of Education, Ed Sherman, we've created a drop-in high school or 2-year college curriculum. So if you're a shop teacher and you're teaching lawn mowers and wood shop and maybe electrical, you can actually come to ABYC, buy a curriculum just like you would for geometry or history, put it in your program, and now you have a marine service technology curriculum. There's tests, there's textbooks, there's instructor resources, and you get a certificate at the end. And when you get out, people want to hire you. So that's what we're doing to try to solve some of this workforce crisis, because if people aren't going to work on boats, we all know they're going to break at some point.
Well, what we're doing, we do a live show format of this. So we do 5 Yetis, and we talk with...
Sure.
And
got a campfire in the middle, or?
Well, it's going to be a Yeti bucket with beer, brewskis, beers, whatever you call it here in America. And we're doing it in shipyards. Specifically to engage with the people who are working on the boats.
Right.
And the shipyards have said to us, it's all very well for us to create the facilities, to have great travel lists, and if we haven't got the people to do the work...
Absolutely correct.
We haven't got the people to do the work.
Right.
And so one aspect we want to channel towards is this apprenticeship style of getting into the workplace. And we're talking with Salty Jobs and that to try
and Salty Jobs does a great job of saying, hey, look, this is something you can do today, and this is a career for you. And I think the challenge is you have to sell this to the parents of the teenagers that want to get involved in this. So if I'm a parent of a teenager, which I am, I want to see that this is a viable option for my son or daughter to be able to enter this market and actually eventually get a job. You may start scraping bottoms or varnishing teak or something like that, but eventually, you could end up doing a job like I have, or a job like any of the people you're interviewing here has, or you can be in government affairs for the National Marine Manufacturers Association. You can be a maritime lawyer. There's so many options that people just don't understand.
I'll give you a good example. Darrell Wakefield, Westport. Started on the shop floor.
Sure.
So you're absolutely right.
And there's not a lot of industries where you can continue to do that. If you wanted to be a boat builder today...
There isn't, is there?
No, there isn't. think about it. If you want to be an electrician, you're a journeyman and you go through all of these things to be able to do it, and it's years before you realize what you wanted to do. Plumber, the same thing. If you want to start in the boat building industry, you can start today. If you want to be a boat builder, you can go visit the Coast Guard over on, I think it's aisle 500, and you can sign up for a hull identification number and what they call a MIC, a manufacturer's identification code, and you can start building boats today. So you're going to quit the video gig and you're going to start building boats, right?
I've got one quick question for you then about American, the aesthetic, no, it's not the aesthetic, the build quality of an American boat versus a European boat. I'm talking specifically larger boats.
Yeah, so what do you consider large?
Let's not do super yacht. Let's say like, well actually no, because it is, in the super, you don't really touch the super yacht realm, do you?
It depends. We're starting to do that now. You know, being a standards organization, we really don't have anything other than 1 or 2 standards that have a limitation on them. So if the standard fits, you can use it.
Because what I don't understand is American high production, I think is one of the best, most respected in the world. But when it comes to small, low volume build,
right,
it always seems like the Europeans have a mark over it. I don't know why.
You know, I don't know that I'm the proper person to comment on that. I can tell you that for the state of Maine, for instance, I mean, you can't drive 50 miles in one direction or the other without bumping into a small 2 or 3 person, you know, 2 or 3 boat production group. You know, many of our members will build 6 center consoles a year.
How many boat building companies are there in America?
So I can tell you with the NMMA statistics, they have 299 boat builders, I believe, that build about 95 to 97% of the product on the market. And the 299 could be off a little bit. But that's how we know. They use our standards to certify boat builders. And so we know that we have about a 95 to 97% market penetration of the boats that are registered in the United States.
Okay.
So if that helps you out. Now, volume-wise, you'd have to go to the individual boat builders and see, you know, how many 19-foot outboard bow riders are cranked out
They're always going to lie.
per year. Right, and you'll see that stuff, right. So that's out there. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to new product or refurbishing old product, I mean, the standards are always relevant.
Yeah. Fascinating. I'm glad I caught you.
All right, happy to be here.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Thanks, Lee. All right.
Enjoy the last, a couple of hours of the show?
Absolutely, we'll do.